Hi, Journey fam. My name's Tracy Carson, and I'm a professional clinical counselor here in San Diego. And I wanted to share some tips with you today about creating an atmosphere of emotional regulation in your home. We are living in unprecedented times, no joke. And tensions are running high. We've just experienced 8 weeks of quarantine, and so it wouldn't surprise me if there's a little irritability in the house. So I'm going to give you 6 tips plus a bonus on how to create an atmosphere of self regulation in your home for yourself and for the little people around you. Let's get started. The first is that before you can teach others how to self regulate, you've got to learn how to do it yourself. And so, knowing your own triggers and understanding what are the things that really push you over threshold are going to be so important so that you can model and identify that awareness with the people in your house. So, for instance, a huge trigger for me is clutter. And so when things start to get cluttered, I notice that I respond really quickly. I might be irritable, and sometimes I go on these rampage cleaning sessions that really have nothing to do with the issue at hand. But what's really going on is that I need some emotional regulation. And so I need to understand myself before I can help regulate others. So, knowing your own triggers is going to be so crucial in this. The second is using your body as a clue for what's going on. So oftentimes our body tells us what we need before our brains are even aware of it. So an increased heart rate, sometimes people get dry mouth, you can start to feel really agity. In children, they might be bouncing off the walls or have a ton of energy more than usual. They actually might start taking out their aggression on things. And so we just need to look for body clues to understand when we are emotionally activated. So for kiddos, you can ask questions like, where is the anger in your body? Where does that sorrow live? What does joy look like inside of you? And children might be able to say that anger feels like fire in my body, or the happiness feels like butterflies floating away. And so these are all clues to help us go inward instead of focusing on the trigger or activating event. The third is to neglect the temptation to make meaning of the trigger or stimulating event. We are constantly scanning our environment for control. We always want to know what's going on and what can I do about it and what are the facts and how can I figure this out, especially in a time like this where we're searching for control because so much feels out of control. But my encouragement to you is that now is not the time to make meaning of these activating events or the behaviors that follow. Instead, just noticing the behavior and then changing your focus. So this can help your body regulate, because what we're doing is we're reminding our brain that the stimulus, the thing that pushed us over the edge or made us kind of irritable or made our children act out, that thing is probably not as big of a deal once we're in a calmer state. But we can't get to a calmer state if we're constantly trying to figure it out. So avoid making meaning of the stimulus or trigger in this moment. The fourth is that you can use your environment to help calm yourself down. So you don't have to go do something big or amazing during this time. You might just need to switch rooms or go for a walk in your neighborhood. Use your environment to remind your body that you are safe and secure right now. So for children, this might be playing a game of I Spy. You might want to go outside and say, let's name all the green things we can find. Or you see a bird and you make up a story about that bird. You are shifting their attention to something that feels safe and secure in the moment. So you haven't addressed the poor behavior yet, and you haven't really tried to problem solve. Instead, you're just orienting to a new environment so that your brain knows we are safe and secure in this moment. Then, once everyone has had a chance to calm down, you can revisit the activating instance. So you can talk about it in a way that feels more doable. This is manifesting a lot with school-age children and homework, especially online learning. It can be such a huge activating event. And so we might need to step away from the homework for a little while. And then once we've calmed down, we've oriented to our environment, then we can return to it and say, okay, what's really going on here? You can ask them again how they're feeling. Children might respond by saying, I'm still mad or I'm still upset. But you can model deeper emotional interaction by providing words like, do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel lonely? Do you feel afraid? What does that feel like in your body? So again, you are changing the focus from what that event was, the homework, the fight with the sibling, etc., and instead making it about how their body responded. As children are sharing, number 5, you want to praise them for their vulnerability and their willingness to engage in this type of content. This is hard stuff, and so you want to say things like, I am so proud of you for sharing with me. That must have been really hard to tell me that you were afraid or lonely, and that was so brave that you did that. Behavior can always be modified on the back end. And so as parents, we are wanting to kind of clean things up and make sure that the consequences have been dealt with and that we've cleared things up if there's been a sibling fight or perhaps if there's homework that we've gotten it done. But that can all be modified on the back end. What needs to happen in this moment is just validating and supporting those big feelings that are coming out of the people around you, because that's really hard to do. Finally, decide together on what an action step might be. So maybe it's doing one more homework problem and then putting it away for the day. Maybe it's not the time to finish the entire assignment. Perhaps it's coming to a compromise on a shared toy in that moment, but not making changes for what tomorrow will look like. So small, attainable goals that work for everyone. And if consequences are needed, if there is some sort of discipline that needs to take place, then you can work through that together. So asking things like, how do you think your brother or sister made, or how do you think your brother or sister felt when you said that comment to them? And talking through collective discipline that way can be very, very helpful and also supportive in this overall environment. And then the bonus. This is really hard work. It's hard for parents and it's hard for kids. And so heap on the praise and the snuggles and the love, maybe trying a new game together, doing something fun, anything that your child would feel really loved and supported by, because this is hard work. So we want to reinforce the idea that what they've done is so good and we want them to do it again. And so whether it's a small treat or whatever works for your family, building something in that says, hey, not only did I do this hard emotional work, but then we played that really fun game, and that reminds me of my overall safety and security. So remember, give yourself grace during this time. Give the people around you grace during this time. The global stress of what we are going through is so challenging. but we do have the power to emotionally regulate ourselves and the people that the Lord has entrusted us to in order to feel safe and secure in our own homes. And that's my hope for you today. Thanks, guys.